Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is JR Hammond, and I'd like to welcome you to our presentation today on behalf of the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium, or CAM, for today's presentation with the Veron Vehicles Skyscraper event. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm broadcasting this presentation on the unceded and traditional ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people of the Squamish, Musqueam, Kitquetlem, Katzie, Kwantlen, and Sinahomi nations here in the beautiful province of British Columbia in Canada. I'd like to begin with a bit of an introduction and the opportunity to thank Felipe and Veron Vehicles for having us here today. We've been working over the past year and a half to create the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium, where I sit as the executive director in bringing together the various stakeholders, focusing and showcasing how to integrate advanced air mobility into the Canadian context, leveraging our initial ingredients here in Vancouver and the British Columbia space on the west coast of Canada, and designing a framework that can be nationally applied to our multi-jurisdictional applications as quick and efficiently as possible. Today, I'm here to create a team of like-minded individuals and a platform to welcome in not only operations within our Canadian context, but to ensure we share learnings, insights, and discoveries through this creative process, both outside our Canadian context and specifically within the Colombia and Latin American markets. We'll begin with why air mobility and the motivation and drive for how advanced air mobility came to be as a topic here in the Canadian context and where it expands from this side. Here in Vancouver, we are privileged to have a large aviation sector as the Pacific gateway to the Northwest, linking the Asia Pacific side into our Canadian ecosystem. One of these massive amounts have come from the development of our infrastructure here in the west coast of North America, and specifically within the Vancouver region, having our Vancouver International Airport as one of the top ranked airports in North America, and really expanding how the aviation sector has been a quintessential partner within the development of an economy here in the British Columbia region, as well as being an active community partner for the social and environmental causes. Now, as we've been progressing through the global economy, one of the key challenges has come up as we continue to raise our bar for sustainability requirements here in Canada and ensuring that the aviation community can continue to meet those challenges. What we want to avoid is as the growing demand pre-COVID was increasing for the aviation community, we had this dichotomy of where sustainability expectations were moving in conjunction with that demand and use for the aviation sector. Now, this culminated into really leaning into the innovation and the opportunities ahead of us, which created the possibility for transforming how we incorporated advanced technologies on both electrical batteries as well as hydrogen fuel cell in smashing them together to create this synergy of the new terminology and the next frontier of aviation, specifically that of advanced air mobility. And this leads us beautifully into our conversation for today, where we are focusing on developing out the advanced air mobility ecosystem within the Canadian context, laying out a nice bridge work between the incredible work done in the drone and UAS industry here in North America, and taking and building upon all of the learnings into what we find our space currently in the middle there as the advanced air mobility terminology as shown by the red box. One of our key components is as the media-sized terminology of urban air mobility continues to gain steam, we want to bring the equivalent amount of importance to that second blue box, such as that of the regional air mobility aspect. We know there's a strong driving use case for unlocking the 3D space above our dense urban areas, but how are we ensuring that we're connecting some of the surrounding opportunities, be it economical, passenger movement as well, to our city centers coming from that regional air mobility concept? Similarly, as we move to the row below that, we're looking at different types of operations that, yes, the vertical takeoff and landing component will be quintessential for those dense urban areas, but we're ensuring we have an inclusive ecosystem that benefits from the development on the short takeoff and landing capacity, as well as the conventional takeoff and landing capacity, leveraging the existing infrastructure with our general aviation airports, and on the conventional side, our larger commercial aviation airports. What is essential to this entire box is, as you will see at the bottom there, is our framework and mandate that advanced air mobility operations in Canada must contribute to a better sustainability cause within our operations, hence the requirement for zero emission operations from the get-go of any introduction of advanced air mobility technology. Now, fortunately, we define this as an energy agnostic ecosystem, meaning that we are ambivalent between the the electricity on the EVTOL side, as well as the hydrogen fuel cell opportunities. Now, as the energy capacity increases between these new developments in the aviation side, we slowly see this moving to the right-hand side of the screen to ensure that the commercial aviation industry is included in these conversations, allowing for a larger amount of passengers, cargo, and services to be performed, similar to that of the conventional commercial aviation industry. With that context in mind of our definition, we're really focusing on setting a laser-focused vision for how we see advanced air mobility rolling out in Canada. We've established these six principles as the foundational pieces that allow us to have a guided and efficient conversation when we're evaluating different use cases for operations in British Columbia and the Canadian context. Number one is building upon that equitable, inclusive, and resilient air mobility ecosystem in conjunction with the intermodal, accessible, and as previously mentioned, the zero emission aircraft operation. Fundamental to all six of these aspects is the essence of safety. We're not only working hand in hand with the national regulators of Canada, specifically Transport Canada, to ensure that any introduction of operations not only maintains the high degree of aviation safety that we currently experience today, but ensures we improve upon that as new technologies are introduced and the ability to have safer and more efficient operations becomes present. Now, when we're looking at different opportunities for air mobility business areas, we focused our efforts onto three general lines of business. Number one is that of the conventional passenger transport, often seen throughout the media. Number two is that of air services, our general catch-all for the movement of efficient services within the vertical takeoff and landing capacity. And on the third side, the movement of cargo. One of the critical pieces that we've established for CAM as the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium is to move beyond just the testing phase of these different lines of business, which are currently being experienced around the world in some of our major cities, such as your Dallas Fort Worth, North Carolina, Dubai, Singapore, Guangzhou, and really establishing a revenue generating use case under each one of these lines of business to ensure that we have that next phase in moving to commercial operations. Identifying and spending the time to have a well-defined business and use case is going to be our niche in the Canadian context so that we can align those business cases with the optimal platforms for efficient movement to those commercial operations within Canada. And the goal behind that is to really attract the knowledge and talents to the Canadian context and showcase that a hand-in-hand relationship with our regulators in conjunction with an existing revenue generating business case can give a quicker opportunity to a go-to-market strategy for then expanding in markets outside of our Canadian side. Now, if you bring it from a Canadian context to a specific local side, we really have been privileged to have our headquarters here in Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of North America, acting as our air mobility catalyst based upon three foundational ingredients that exist within our city. Number one is the commitment to sustainability. We have had a climate emergency response declared by the City of Vancouver and reflected by the province of British Columbia on enacting measures to decarbonize transportation and continue to raise the bar of what our sustainability requirements are within Vancouver and the province of British Columbia to ensure we continue to combat climate change in the future. This commitment showcases in different financial incentives, operational directives, and opportunity for clean technology, clean infrastructure, and the decarbonization of transportation to lean in and start creating a new ecosystem within Vancouver. Secondarily, it's our operational excellence. We're privileged as a water city to have had the largest scheduled helicopter operator, HeliJet, based out of our downtown core and showcase the last 38 years of operations that they've had to build demand models, insight, and operational expertise that can naturally transfer into our next stage of operations, which is that of advanced air mobility. And third is our natural geography and ecosystem. The mountainous and Pacific side, in conjunction with the United States border to the south of the city of Vancouver, presents a unique opportunity in conjunction with our public transportation providers, where we can start evaluating how advanced air mobility could provide unique solutions that are cheaper, more effective, and efficient in moving people, goods, and services within our dense area, not having to worry about tunneling under or inlets, oceans, or building bridges over top of those inlets and oceans, and showcasing the economic advantages that a point-to-point air metro solution could have within the unique geography area of Vancouver. And to summarize it on our public infra side, working hand in hand with TransLink, the largest public transportation provider in British Columbia, we've been able to showcase on their future vision, as showcased on the image on the right, how not only the ferry, long distance train, active transportation, and flying air metro concepts can play a role in the future mobility of British Columbia. Really ensuring we're starting these conversations and starting to plant the seeds at an early stage for the public interest and public perception is where we're trying to lay that framework out for the next amount of work to go down the decades as the air mobility ecosystem progresses. Now, what does this look like? We know we cannot operate in silo. It's not just the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium, or CAM, working in this as an individual consortium. It's the true ability to bring together the different and various stakeholders around the table to start identifying how we're going to roadmap out these operations, ensuring we hold those 6 framework principles to the highest of degree. It's a combination of industry professionals, academia, our national regulators and research councils, 3 levels of government from municipal, provincial, and federal, and of course, the investor community coming around to really identify where these use case and revenue generating opportunities can be and how to effectively progress hand in hand together. One of the areas that Canada presents a unique side is that our smaller size in market comparison to that of the United States or other European markets gives us an opportunity to really sit down with the decision makers in our federal capital of Ottawa, bringing together our provincial capital of Victoria and our municipal expertise here in Vancouver around a table to start efficiently streamlining conversations that we can have from a national level, provincial, and municipal side. And this brings together a lot of the motivation behind where CAM as a consortium is focused on, is designing that streamlined strategy for advanced air mobility in Canada, being the one-stop shop for a quick and efficient plug-and-play approach for use cases, and ensuring we have regional implementation starting in the British Columbia region and expanding that nationwide. And what does it look like on the ecosystem piece? Well, the critical piece is continuing conversations on awareness, education, and opportunity, not only within our consortium members, but building that general ecosystem as well. And so the way we've devised our ecosystem on the Canadian aspect is to the far left in that lightest green square, we really focus on the general ecosystem development. This is for any interested parties seeking information, education, or involvement opportunities, hosting different open houses on just raising that awareness and education behind the opportunities of advanced air mobility, such that we can have informed, educated decisions and an open platform to lean into the stickier questions of visual disturbance, noise pollution, community members, equitability, and of course, the accessibility of this transportation. Beyond the general ecosystem, as we progress into a more committed or involved state, we've set up a consortium structure to ensure that members can join, provide their operational, financial, and then insightful expertise to the commitment of advanced air mobility in Canada and really showcasing what that vision can look like through their own operations and providing it to the ecosystem itself. And lastly, to our highest level, designing out that strategy, ensuring that we have a national cohesion with different regional implementation comes from our various executive committees across the country, leading up to our national structure for that efficient communication and strategy decision making. To bring it from the ecosystem side, the past year and a half of work has really culminated into our first identifiable operation use case within the British Columbia region. And this is looking at establishing our triple bottom line opportunity, looking at an EVTOL operation for the movement of cancer isotopes from Vancouver's General Hospital to that of our provincial capital, Victoria's Royal Jubilee Hospital. And what we focus on with this triple bottom line analysis is we ensure that not only the economic narrative is present, but we provide equivalent and important conversations and analysis behind the environmental side as well as the social side. Through that process, and over the past 7 months, we've brought in the experts in those three areas, specifically Bright Spot Climate, Nexa Capital Partners, HMMH, Moving in a Livable Region, and Teague Design to start showcasing how a triple bottom line analysis for eVTOL operations needs to be in setting that framework not only for Canada, but hopefully raising the bar and awareness of what conversations and analyses need to be performed worldwide for the optimal integration of this advanced air mobility technology. And the goal behind it, knowing that this is the first stake in this operation, is not to have all of the answers, but really create an inviting platform for other experts in their area to continue to build upon as we go through the creative innovation process, ensuring that this is a step forward for society and not just benefiting the upper 1% of a specific socioeconomic group. But with our triple bottom line EVTOL operations, what we've looked at is moving these isotopes based upon three scenarios. Today, these isotopes are moved with number one and number two, a conventional ground transportation, which looks at a hospital via truck to a long ferry and via another truck to the hospital. Operation number two, utilizing a conventional Sikorsky S-76 helicopter that Helijet currently provides, moving those isotopes with an air solution. And number three, actually leveraging the ability to move hospital to hospital with an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, providing a quicker, efficient, and zero emission operation. For visual purposes, why this case has really stood out for us as a starting point for advanced air mobility work is locating this red star at the top of our screen here, which represents the Vancouver General Hospital, and the required movement of those isotopes to Victoria's Royal Jubilee Hospital in the bottom of our screen here. Now, what you'll notice is that there is a long ferry terminal and ferry route between those two locations that a conventional ground solution usually takes about 2 to 3 times the amount of time with a heavy, radioisotope that has a very quick half-life, decaying rapidly and meaning less cancer patients being able to be treated upon arrival at the hospital in Victoria. So time is of the essence in this case. bringing in an EVTOL solution to actually fly point to point on our hospital route gives us an opportunity to not only satisfy, yes, the economic side of producing less isotopes, yes, the social side for being able to treat more cancer patients, and critically the environmental side as well, ensuring that that is a zero emission operation compared to that of a conventional Sikorsky S-76 helicopter. Now, once again, as we bring it from the Vancouver side, this is not a work that needs to be done in silo. We've been continuing to expand and open our doors on the Canadian context, ensuring that we create links of our knowledge, insight, and bringing in the expertise to start showcasing how this looks on a global context. One of our near-term partnerships that we've been progressing is that of the Cascadia Corridor, specifically the connection between the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, and the province of British Columbia, and identifying opportunities for the efficient and sustainable movement of people, goods, and services between our three largest cities of Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. We know that the future is going to be developing within the Cascadia corridor, be it the surrounding regions, our innovation ecosystem, as well as having some of the largest tech companies on the planet, be it your Amazon, Microsoft, EA Games, Nike, located within that corridor, and identifying opportunities to really have that sustainable movement of people, goods, and services throughout those cities and surrounding areas. Critically important part about creating this partnership is it allows us the framework to create more international partnerships and have this shared learning and insights. And this brings us perfect into where we see the partnership with Veron Vehicles and the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium going forward in the future is ensuring that all of the work done from our legislature, policymakers, regulatory officials on the Canadian side can continue to develop and share insights with those in not only the Colombia market, but as the Latin American market continues to expand as well. It's not just going to be these global partnerships and shared learning that's going to progress the technology overall, but it's going to be maintaining that safety aspect, the social and environmental pieces that need equivalent amount of conversation to that of the economic factor that gives us an opportunity in these very early stages to continue to ensure that this technology is applied and moving society as a positive forward rather than being lucrative to the upper 1%. And so what we're committing to from our Canadian air mobility side is leaning into deeper conversations, not only with Veron Vehicles and the developments in the Latin American markets, but ensuring that our work on the Canadian context and our vision for advanced air mobility continues to raise that bar overall on the global stage. And so next step, as we progress in bringing advanced air mobility to Canada, we really want to keep our doors open, specifically our digital doors in today's case, and ensure that this is an opportunity to lean into those sticky questions, lean into the heaviness required on the creative innovation for this technology, and ensure that we have an open ecosystem that's ready and capable to start tackling those questions, albeit not having all the answers today, but the commitment of sitting around the table as a community and progressing on the opportunities at hand for the next phase of sustainable aviation on this planet Earth. So with that, we are en route for advanced air mobility in our current year 2020, continuing to bring this to reality. And we open the invitation for additional conversations at the conclusion of this event and hope to invite everybody to Vancouver and the Canadian context when it's safe to travel again. And in the interim, I'd like to express my thanks for the opportunity to speak today and look forward to future conversations with our work at CAM on the Canadian Advanced Air Mobility Consortium. Thank you.